You guys, so we are going to practice some problems just like your quiz. Before you take your quiz, I actually want you to have these 5 problems written down. So I want you to do these problems with me and have it on the sheet that you turn in with your 2 quiz questions that you're going to do yourself. Okay, so you're going to do 5 questions with me and then 2 yourself. Okay, so this is what the quiz looks like. It says graph each line using a table of values. And so for this quiz, there is 2 things that I'm going to be looking for. I'm going to be looking for your table of values, okay? And I'm also going to be looking for the graph of the line. Okay, so you need to do those 2 things. So let me go ahead and show you a practice problem here. If I give you the linear equation y equals x minus 4, and I ask you to graph it using a table of values, your very first step is to set up a table of values. You're going to use this table of values to help you find some points that are on this line, okay? When you're setting up your table of values, you get to pick any values you want for x. You're going to plug that value into the equation and solve for the y, and that gives you a point that is on the line, okay? In order to graph this line, we need at least 2 points that are on this line. It's really good if you can pick 3, but you need at least 2. Okay, so let's say I let the x equal 5. Sorry, my pen is not writing very good today. Okay, this is supposed to be a 5. Okay, so if I let the x be 5, and I take this equation, and instead of this x right here, I plug in 5, I would have 5 minus 4. Okay, so 5 minus 4 is 1. If I let the x be 5, that means that the y is 1. Okay, now this gives me a point that is on this line. Okay, so in order to graph this line, we need to find one other point that's on this line, and then we can draw a graph of the line. Okay, so I'm going to pick another value for x. Let's say I pick 4. So I take my equation, y equals x minus 4, but instead of the x, I'm going to plug in 4, okay? So when we let the x be 4, the y is going to be equal to 0, okay? So 4 comma 0, this is another point that is on this line, okay? So now I'm going to go ahead and graph. So I draw my coordinate plane. Okay, so step 1 is setting up your table of values. Step 2 is setting up your coordinate plane and actually graphing the line. Okay, so remember, ordered pairs are listed x first and then the y. An ordered pair is just a location of a point within the coordinate plane. Okay, so if we want to go to this point right here, 5, 1, that means from the origin, we need to move to the right 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, up 1. This point right here is 5, 1. Okay, let's graph the other point. Let's plot that point, 4, 0. Okay, so from the origin, we're going to move to the right 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, up or down 0. So that point is right here. My pen is not drawing today. Not sure what's going on. Let's try this again, 4, 0. Okay, so here's my line crossing through those 2 points. So that is how you graph a line using a table of values. So let's go ahead and look at your second quiz question, and let's do one just like this, okay? So y equals negative 2x plus 2. So I'm going to change that just a little bit. Y equals negative 2x plus 1. And in order to graph this line, I'm going to set up a table of values. I'm going to pick some values for x. Let's figure out what the y is when the x is 0. Let's figure out what the y is when the x is 1. Okay, you get to pick any values you want. You just choose. Okay, it doesn't matter what you pick. Now, we take our equation, y equals negative 2 times by, instead of the x, we're going to let the x equal 0. Now, this is the part where I need you to get out your calculators, okay? Doing the integer operations correctly is one of the most important things, okay? So get out a calculator, double check with your calculator. If you don't do your operations correctly, the graph of your line is not going to be correct. So -2 times 0, if you put that in your calculator, you get 0. And then 0 plus 1 is 1. So when the x is 0, the y is 1. This point, 0, 1, is a point on this line. Okay, so let's go ahead and find another point on the line by letting the x be 1. So we take the same equation, y equals -2 times, instead of the x, we're going to let the x be 1. Okay, so now go ahead and get out your calculator. You're going to do -2 times by 1 right here, which is -2. And then -2 plus 1 will give you a -1. Okay, so when we let the x be 1, the y is -1. So this gives us a point, 1, -1, that is on the line. I'm so sorry, my pen is not working good today. Okay, so we draw our coordinate plane. Here's my x, here's my y. Okay, we know that this point 0, 1 is on the line. So up or down, or to the right or left 0, and then up 1. This is the point 0, 1 right here. Okay. I can't get it to mark. Okay, and then our second point on the line is found by going to the right 1 and down 1. Okay, so to the right 1 and down 1. And now that we have graphed or plotted both of those points, we can draw our line. We can graph our line. Okay, so let's go ahead and do a few more together and then you can take your quiz. Okay, so y is equal to x plus 4. Okay, so first thing that we do if we want to graph this line is we set up a table of values. We pick some values for x, anything that we want, and then we plug those into our equation and solve for the y. So y is equal to, instead of the x, we're going to plug in -1. -1 plus 4 is 3. Okay, and then we also plug in the 2. So instead of the x, we plug in 2. 2 plus 4 is 6. And now this gives us 2 points that are on the line. So we draw our coordinate plane. This is my x-axis. This is my y-axis. This point right here is found from the origin by traveling 1 to the left and up 3. Okay, this point right here is found by starting at the origin, going to the right 2 and up 6. Okay, and here is the graph of the line. So this is really quite easy. Okay, but remember there are 2 things that I'm looking for on your quiz. Let's do 2 more of these together just to be sure you've got this, and then I think you're going to be ready to take your quiz. So y equals -2x plus 2. So we set up our table of values first. We pick anything we want for the x. So let's just pick 0 and let's pick 2. Okay, 0 and 2. And then we're going to plug this 0 in for the x and solve for the y. So now we set up our equation just like it is, but instead of the x, we plug in 0. -2 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 2 is 2. So when we let the x be 0, the y is 2. That gives us an ordered pair of 0, 2. okay? Now let's go ahead and plug in 2 for the x. So we take the same equation. Instead of the x, we're just plugging it in right here. We're plugging 2 in right there. So negative 2 times 2 is negative 4. Negative 4 plus 2 is negative 2. So 2, negative 2. Sorry, my pen is not working very good today. 2, negative 2. So hopefully you can hear what I'm saying because my writing looks really bad. So 2, negative 2. So here is the x coordinate. Here's the y-axis. Here's the x-axis. Now we're going to plot this point and draw our line. Okay, so 0, 2. That's to the right or left 0, up 2. Okay, right here is 0, 2. 2, negative 2 is to the right 2 and down 2. Okay, then from there, we just go ahead and draw our line. We can graph our line. And I actually think that is enough practice problems for you guys. And I'm running out of time on this video as well. So I'm going to go ahead and go back to the quiz. Oh, and look at that. You guys are super lucky I did this one for you. Okay, so make sure that you have the practice problems done on your paper. And then you are going to do these 2 questions for me. You're going to turn that in. And then I want you to move yourself to breakout room number 1, where you can start today's lesson with us. Okay, so I will see you guys in breakout room number 2, which is the practice after you do breakout room number 1. Okay, so from here, after you take your quiz, you are going to move to breakout room number 1. See you soon.